Real talk with verified wellness providers. The Wellness Connection.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the Wellness Connection. This is our second episode, and so we're happy. It's very, very exciting. We're with Latanya and Tanya today, and I'll be the co-host. So, Latanya, take it away.
We are so glad to have everyone back. Remember, this is a very safe space where our providers are going to share their authentic stories and allow you to see that we are just people and we just have different specialties. And so today, remember, initially our first couple of episodes, we are introducing you to who we are, right? Giving you a little insight into who we are. And so today we will be interviewing Miss Tanya. So tell us about yourself.
What I really want to talk about is my experience and why we started this Arkansas Wellness Network. What was the why behind it? And so I was a teacher. I am a teacher at heart.
Cheers to the educators.
I am a teacher. Oh, yes. Teacher.
Well, I guess I'm a teacher
three of
too.
us are teachers.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even pay attention. That makes so much sense now. I didn't even think about that. So I was a teacher, but I was also in the National Guard. I loved the military, and I joined the military. I wanted to serve. So I would teach Monday through Friday, and then on the weekend, I got to be that, badass warrior kind of person. I loved it. I was sent to combat to Iraq. I was 20 minutes away from Baghdad at a place called Camp Todd.
When was this?
2008. Yes. So, and I was leaving behind. I had my son, my oldest son, must have been 9 because my twins were 1.5 years when I left. And so my twins were very young. And I went to Iraq. I loved my job, very exciting job, but obviously you miss home. I was injured. And one thing I do want to explain to people, not everyone is injured in like an actual explosion or being shot. I think that brought a lot of shame for me that my injury was not due to something like that. So I have 4 bulging discs, a torn disc, a dislocated disc, and sciatica down both legs. And I knew within probably 1.5 months of being there, but I didn't want to be sent home. That was my big thing. It would have been nice as a mom to have been sent home.
Yeah.
But I'm a warrior and this is my mission and I don't want to leave my people. And on top of all of that, I'm a female and I was assigned to an all-male unit. I was a female officer in this male unit and they didn't really want females there with them. So the last thing I wanted was for them to see me have to tail between my legs and go home. So that there was no way I was going to allow that to happen. So I went to a doctor. I begged him not to let my commanders know. And I told him, I just want to make it through. Just help me make it through the deployment in as little pain as possible. I promise I'll take care of all of that later. And so that's what we did. And he gave me buckets of medication, hydrocodone, oxycodone. He gave me medicine for mental health because I was in so much pain that I was starting to struggle with some depression and some anxiety. So I was struggling while I was over there, but I was very good at my job. I was really hardworking and I wanted to be able to finish the mission. That was really, really important to me. So about 1 month before it was time to come home, everybody's excited to come home. That's what you've been working for. That's what you've been looking forward to. And about 1 month before I got home, my husband kind of wasn't very good at money and he wiped out the bank account. And so he wiped out the bank account. He knew that would be a big argument because that had been a very sore subject for us. Our entire marriage was being responsible with the money. And so he sent an email and asked for a divorce, said he didn't want to argue about the money anymore. And he asked for a divorce. That was just crushing. I had no idea what I was going to be coming home to. I didn't know what home was going to look like. My children didn't know who I was. They were 1.5 years old when I left. So now I'm coming home to a home where I'm facing a divorce. The money's all gone. And I don't know that my children even know who I am. and I'm in terrible, terrible pain.
Shame. Yeah.
All day, every day. It hurts to sleep. It hurts to stand. It hurts to sit. So I was in a really, really bad place mentally and physically. I got home and surprisingly, my husband, which I'm grateful for, my husband played it really cool. He was very supportive. He was there to greet me. And so that was a little bit of a relief that, okay, he's not being ugly. He's not,
Yeah.
that he hasn't moved a wife in or anything, a new girlfriend or something into the house. But it was a really, really challenging time. We also got home just in time for Christmas, 5 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
That is a stressful time for any mom, parent, any family member. But I'm coming home and all the family is really excited to see me. And I'm coming home to I don't know what my family life is going to look like. And it was just
Yeah.
very, very tough time for me to come home. The day that we got home was the last day that my school was open before Christmas break. So I made sure to go to my school because I was really excited to let them know I'm back, and I'm here for this spring semester. I can't wait to get back to teaching. And I show up at my school and they told me that I couldn't come in, that I had to go to HR. And there's only one reason you go to HR. I'd never been asked to go to HR before. So I went to HR and the director welcomed me in, was so friendly, hugged me. We're so glad you're back. Thanks for your service. So thankful you're not injured. Of course, you can't see my injury, so you think I look normal. And I'm hyped up on all sorts of drugs to make me look like I'm normal and make me be able to walk. And so he lets me know that they had budget cuts and that my job was cut. And I was in complete disbelief. I had the most wonderful principal. I loved her. I loved my job. It was wonderful. I was so excited to get back to teaching. But yeah, he informed me that my job had been cut and that my services were no longer needed. And then he wished me Merry Christmas, told me to enjoy my Christmas with my family. I was devastated. And so I went through a terrible 2 month. I don't even want to call it depression because it was way worse than depression, way worse than anything I could ever have imagined. When I think of people talking about, oh, I'm depressed, it feels very temporary. This didn't feel temporary. I have no money. My husband is leaving. My kids don't know who I am, but they want their mommy. So they want to crawl all over me and play because they're only 3 and I can't even pick them up. And I'm in terrible pain. I don't want to get addicted to the medicine. So I don't want to take the medicine. But if I don't take the medicine, I can barely walk. And so it was just the hardest time mentally, physically, days where I could not walk at all. And so in that next 2 months, I literally sat on my couch having no idea what to do next. I couldn't see forward, couldn't put one foot in front of the other because I just didn't know how. And I really just couldn't get off that couch. It felt like I just got deeper and deeper and deeper into that couch every single day. And I can't tell you that I did not contemplate suicide because that was the one thing that I knew would end the pain, the physical that I was feeling. The pain was so overwhelming that I never thought it was going to go away. And then to have the emotional pain on top and now financial pain on top of that, it just felt like there was no way out. In that 2-month period, in that following 2-month period, we lost 15 of our veterans to suicide. And the sad part is, I totally understood why. It wasn't what they experienced over there. It was the coming back. So overwhelming and so painful. And there was so much stress that they didn't know how to handle it. And so I totally understood. I couldn't blame them for it. I felt terrible for their family, especially when they had kids involved. But I understood. I completely understood. And so in that 2 months, well, I'm sure leading up to there was other concerns, but the military realized that we were having a really hard struggle with suicide. And this was becoming an epidemic for us.
Yeah.
And so they decided to hire a suicide prevention program manager for every state. So each of the 50 states the National Guard was hiring a suicide prevention program manager. My boss from Iraq did not know my physical injuries because if you remember, I hid them. So nobody knew my physical injuries. I was very, very diligent at hiding that. Most of the people that I deployed with had no idea that I was facing the divorce when I got home either, but several people did know that I lost my job. I didn't that one. So my military boss, Colonel Cluck, he called and he was like, hey, there's this position I think you would be really, really good at. And I don't know if it was just my personality or if he knew from being a special ed teacher or just being a teacher that, that might be, or maybe just being a compassionate person. But he saw something in me and thought that that would be a good position for me, which was very ironic because here I was sitting.
Yeah.
Feeling suicidal and not telling anyone. And so the irony for me to start filling out an application to be the suicide prevention program manager, I didn't know if it was ironic, if it was a cruel joke, or if it was like a godsend. You need a job. Feeling this, you can identify, you can help. So I got the job and I was so grateful. It was at a point where I probably would have lost the house at that point. And, my children, I don't know what we would have done. And I was not physically in a position or mentally in a position to figure that out. So that job saved my life, literally saved my life. It got me off of that couch. I had to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other because I had to go help other people. And I slowly was able to stop thinking about myself and to help others. That was a huge part of me being able to get up and being able to work on myself so that I could help others. And it was tremendous. I remember having to go to water aerobics. I couldn't do any other kind of exercise, but in the water I could. And it didn't hurt. It was the only place where I didn't feel pain. And so I would go and do water aerobics so that I could get stronger so that I could walk. And knowing that I'm applying for this job, because it took a little while to get the job, but knowing that I'm applying for it gave me hope. And it gave me the ability to put that one foot in front of the other because I knew I needed to do this so that I could help other people. And so I started going to water aerobics. And then eventually my core muscles got a little stronger, lifted the pressure off of the vertebrae. And then I was able to move into yoga. And I know, Dr. you mentioned yoga as well. Between the water aerobics and the yoga, that was better than anything I'd ever done. Physical therapy was very painful for me.
Yeah.
Didn't see results. I wasn't seeing results. And so I would just walk away very frustrated. So I, being the suicide prevention program manager, and at that time, Arkansas was the only state in the nation that didn't have a suicide prevention plan or program. And that was mind blowing to me. Like, I thought we were just last in education. I didn't know we were last in everything.
Wow.
I mean, just mind blowing. So
Yeah.
the governor is also in charge of the National Guard. So the general that I worked under, he explained to the governor that I could work with both sides, the military and the civilian, and we could all work together because we had to create the plan and the program for the National Guard. No reason why we couldn't help create the one for the civilian world. Right. So we started working together with the governor's office and the Department of Health and Arkansas, or the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Arkansas chapter, and many other different entities that were involved in suicide prevention. And we started to work together to create a plan, to create a program for the state so that we weren't the only state in the nation. Because if you're the only state in the nation that doesn't have it, or even if you're not the only state, if you don't have it, you miss out on all the federal grants, you miss out on all the federal programs, and even our suicide hotline was not getting answered. We had a nonprofit that was claiming to answer it. The calls would go up to you call the 800 number, it goes up, and then that reroutes back to the state. It was going to voicemail.
Wow.
Can you imagine being suicidal and you're reaching out for hope? It takes a lot to make that phone. Yeah. And so to make that phone call and then get a voicemail that says, please hang up and dial 1-800-273-TALK, which is the phone number you just called. And you do it over and over, and it goes to voicemail over and over. I was mind blown at what I learned. Now, That was 17 years ago, 2008, 17 years ago, 2009. So 16 years ago. A lot has changed since then. We got a lot of laws passed. We got it to where myself and some members from the Arkansas Suicide or the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and the Arkansas Department of Health and the veterans, the VA hospital was instrumental in helping with a lot of the things that we did. We were able to get the laws changed to where the hotline had to be answered, had to be, and we got it to where they opened a call center at the Department of Health so that it would never go to voicemail again. We had backup systems. So if ours were busy, then it goes to Memphis or somewhere else. So we got all of that put in place and we did a lot of really good things. But what I learned in that experience was when someone is suicidal, it's not like a broken bone where you can go and get it fixed. Or a prescription is just going to fix it. It's not. There's some root causes. For me, it was the pain that I was in. It was the emotional distress that I was under. It was the financial burden that I was going through. Those are things that the emergency room or the 72-hour hold can't fix, or even just a prescription can't fix. And so that was what I learned from that experience. And I never knew where the resources were to help the people that I needed to help. And so the more people I met, then I learned about resources, but it always bothered me. There wasn't one place to go and look, like, where are these resources? How does somebody know where to go if they're struggling with something in their life and they need to improve it and they don't know how? And so it really bothered me. And so for the last 16 years, I guess, that has been my mission. I went back to school. I got a master's degree in health. So I already had a master's degree in education, but I went back. I got a master's degree in health and human performance. And I studied everything about physical wellness, nutritional wellness, emotional wellness, all the different things that make up the overall wellness. And I wanted to figure out, how do we solve that problem? Like, there's no one place to go find the resources. So that was one of my big things for 16 years I've wanted to fix. And how do we address the whole person? And doctor, you're a doctor, but you're a very different doctor. A lot of doctors are not looking at it from that perspective, and they treat one specific thing that they know how to treat. And so it was very important to me. I wanted to create something that would help the whole person in all dimensions of their wellness. And I wanted them to know where the resources were and possibly have the courses they needed so that they could learn how to help themselves so that they never got to that point where they're feeling suicidal, so that we could help those stressors become less stressful to where they're not overwhelming and life-changing. So that is where this Arkansas Wellness Network is born from. It was a 16-year passion project for me. Yeah. I don't consider myself a health professional. I consider myself more of an educator and a connector. And that is my goal with this Arkansas Wellness Network, is to bring all the people together that do help people, to bring all the resources, not compete with anyone, but bring them all together so that we can push them out to the people that need them. So that's really
wonderful. Now, I haven't seen this side. We've met, and the thing that I would describe Tanya, how you pronounce it, but Tanya.
Everybody does. Don't worry about it.
It is like you are a highly self-motivated person, right? So that this drive, and I welcome that. So that energy, I take it with like open arms, and it's a very, I would say, refreshing to see, right? That drive.
Some people call it stubborn.
Yeah. But I see where it's coming from, and it's coming from your life history, the challenges that you've had. And the other thing too is that you are an organizer, right? It seems to me that you are a community developer, like putting stuff together, like you were saying, a connector. I think that's a gift, and it's
that's not something that I had as a skill set, but from that experience, it was what I learned was needed. was
Yeah.
that collaboration, all of those different entities working together, I really saw how they made a difference. And I thought, well, if we can bring everyone, all the
Mhm.
wellness people together, and we all teach and we all help, imagine what we could do for our state.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so that was definitely my goal with this Arkansas Wellness Network.
Mhm.
And I hope I'm able to do it. I'm in the process of getting nationally board certified as a holistic health and wellness coach. I've been through all the courses. I just have to sit for the national board exam, which by the way, we're going to talk about verified wellness providers. And one of the things I do want to say is there are a lot of people that call themselves a wellness coach or a health coach. There is an actual certification through the medical board. There is an actual certification for that. So if someone is calling themselves a health and wellness coach, please ask them if they are nationally board certified as a holistic, or it doesn't even have to be holistic. Ask them if they are nationally board certified as a health and wellness coach. Because if they're not, then they probably shouldn't be calling themselves that, because there are very strict standards and training that you have to go through for that title. Going to a weekend course does not make you that. I have a master's degree in it, and I went through a 16-month program, a full-time program. And then I still haven't sat for my board certification yet. So I still am very leery about calling myself a health and wellness coach at this point. So do your due diligence. If somebody calls themselves a health and wellness coach, please make sure that they really are, because there's a lot of people that don't even know that that is a real certification.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
Um,
wonderful.
And
Yeah.
that's part of why we have those verifications in place, because there are a lot of people in the holistic wellness field. It is new. A lot of it isn't certified or verified in a official capacity. And so we want to make sure that if you're getting wellness advice, you're getting it from an actual verified wellness provider. So that's why we're doing this.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to go back to like learning you as a human being, So again, things popping up in my mind and it makes sense, from your story. It was very, very honest, about. So the other thing is that you seem to have established relationships with legislation, which is not an easy thing, Hence, when, in our interactions before, you would say like, oh, this legislature, oh, that's a really, really tall order. And now it made sense because you did have a history of how, you
Yeah.
changed systems. Yeah.
Not before I came back from Iraq. I had
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
done anything with legislation, or
Yeah.
didn't even know any politicians. And
Mhm.
now I'm very blessed. It is something I'm very involved in, and
Mhm.
I take very, very seriously the responsibility of trying to help. Nothing that I work on is ever partisan. It is always for the greater good of all Arkansans.
Yeah.
Helped with laws from sexual assault to suicide prevention. Recently was involved in some domestic violence legislation. And then I'm plug Latanya. Latanya and I are actually, I don't even know if you know this, Dr. Yu, but Latanya and I are actually on a leadership committee with UAMS for domestic violence. It's a brand new committee that was just created a couple of months ago. And one of the things that we're working on is education and awareness. And then we are also working on a victims' rights bill. And it is something that has been in the works for years. The victims' rights bill has. And we have a wonderful representative that is sponsoring it, Representative Carolyn Brown. She's sponsoring that. Not related to Reinventing Ourselves or the Arkansas Wellness Network.
Yeah.
But it is very important work that we do outside of this sphere.
Yeah.
And then my son is very involved in he's a lawyer, and he's very involved
I
in,
know him.
yeah, he's pretty cool. And Doctor, you knows him because he's a lawyer. We had to go round and round with all the legal stuff with UAMS to make that collaboration between UAMS and Reinventing Ourselves. We've had to do a couple times now, getting pretty good at it. So he is involved in an organization. He's involved in an organization that's called the Arkansas Appleseed. And that is a nonprofit that does all legal advocacy and policy work. And so I foresee a lot more of the
Yeah.
legislative stuff going on because
That's really cool. And because we're in this connection, and my work and one of the motivations here is really also about suicide. Unfortunately, I've had my personal uh experience, not for myself, but like my immediate family, my friends. So I'm very familiar with, and students as well, like my students who have depression and died by suicide. And one of the motivations for uh teaching meditation and mindfulness is like when you talked about, now you understand, Tanya, because there's, with depression and suicidality, there's pain, physical and mental pain. And sometimes the alternative is just to check out, so that then it will eliminate the physical and the mental pain it's caused by circumstance. There's also this possibility that even when you're in that shift of a situation, is it possible to actually have a opening of different ideas in how one might move forward, like what you were saying, putting your foot back. Like, what motivated you? The job was a motivation given the circumstance that you had, and allow you to move. Can you one shit can shift that attention to do something else more productive, more skillful, right? In getting to move from the next phase.
yeah,
I'm very
absolutely.
fascinated with that, because for those kids that don't have agency, built in yet, how can you do that? So in our hospital, unfortunately, we do see a lot of that. I
Oh,
think for
suicide is the
adolescents,
second leading
yes,
cause of death for
yes. So
adolescents up to 40
adolescents,
years
and
old.
yeah. So, that's also one of the motivations for me. In my immediate family, fortunately, we don't have that, but around my family, and I feel like there's got to be some other solutions out there, that could be of help when people, fall into that. So that might be another point of connection, as you're doing this network organization here, and that we can kind of work together and figure things out together
Absolutely.
as a unit, like as a group.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're here to promote health, happiness, and hope because that is ultimately what will prevent suicide.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tanya, I want to ask you a question. So you were essentially chosen to spearhead this suicide prevention program in the midst of you battling your own internal war, right? With depression. So how were you able to navigate that? Like because essentially you're trying to help other people fight that battle while you're silently trying to figure out how to battle it yourself. So how
You
did you
know,
navigate that space?
I think that's a great question. And I definitely would not normally recommend that somebody who's in the middle of it go and do the job. That was purely coincidental. And I wasn't about to say, well, I'm kind of right there with them. So nobody knew that at the time. So I definitely think for me, I'm a very stubborn person. Pele, Dr. Yu, said it totally differently and made it sound very glorious that I'm very motivated. I call it stubborn. My family definitely calls it stubborn. Decided that I was going to go for that job. It gave me the strength I needed to figure out how to fix myself so that I could be strong enough and healthy enough to help others. So at that point was when I finally accepted, okay, I need mental health. I was refusing it. I kept telling them I am not depressed. I am in pain, which was true. The pain was causing the depression for me.
The suffering. Yeah.
Yes, I was suffering. I was in so much pain, and that pain was causing me to be depressed. So I kept telling the doctors, if you solve the pain, you're going to solve the depression. I'll fix it.
Yeah.
I was very angry at them, and they weren't listening.
Yeah. A lot of the doctors don't see that in physical pain, even if it's an organic pain or not organic, meaning that like, there's no boil or whatever, just
Something.
seeing it, the pain is real, right? Like your nervous system feels it.
Well,
And
and I
when
will say this, Dr. Yu, in their defense, I did not know that my depression could cause physical symptoms.
Yes, yes.
And they weren't explaining that very well to me.
And then
I had physical symptoms, but my depression was also causing some physical symptoms
yes,
that I was blaming on the physical.
on the physical pain.
And so I'm like, well, if you would just fix the physical problem, I wouldn't have this and
Yeah,
I would be all better.
yeah.
Well, it took them a long time. And Latanya, to your question, I do think that me helping other people forced me to look internally and realize,
Yeah.
yeah, I do need to accept that help as well. And when I did eventually accept that help,
Yes.
I started to realize that pain that radiates all the way down my shoulder and through my chest and down my arm, it actually is from mental health.
From the stress, from
Yes.
the
And from
from
depression.
stress,
And
from that, and it's really fascinating because some of that, again, from the principles that's really borrowing from Buddhism, is the attachment to it. You know, this the way we cling to the difficulties that we have, the
Yes.
dissatisfaction that we have, like, oh, my situation is that. So part of the ongoing exploration for me as aspirations, like figuring out how do you translate that so that then, particularly in my setting, you know, the young adults, right? So I see patients who are kids, teenagers, but their parents are also young in life, you know? How do you, help them and coming at, because what happened to you, Tanya, was more of an internal realization, right? Like you've seen it, and how does one, open that up for possibilities for other people to see?
so I had to look at the fact that sitting on the couch was not helping my physical
Okay.
abilities either.
So you have insight.
Get into the water and do the water aerobics to strengthen the muscles so that they did relieve that pain. So it was a combination. I think, Latanya, to answer your question, that getting that job forced me to have to get up off the couch and work on myself so that I could help other people, because very important responsibility.
So there's a purpose.
My veterans were dying and I needed to help them. And I can't help them if I'm sitting on the couch feeling sorry for myself.
Right, right.
Motivation.
Yeah.
Before that, I didn't have the motivation to get off the couch. It was too overwhelming and I didn't even know how. And so that job saved my life. But I do agree, I wouldn't normally recommend somebody, jump right in.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. You phrase that way. Again, we all have our own shadows, and there's a term about wounded healers, right? Not perfect. Everyone has that. Simply the motivation to help is what makes us connect and become a very effective partner, coach. To improve health. It's really that's the, like, if you are authentic enough and connected enough, then somehow, however, like in your situation, someone has connected and found a value in your skill set, and you found the mission and the purpose.
My pain
Yeah.
guided my purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't choose
Great
it.
question.
Like Latanya said, I didn't choose it.
I didn't choose it. It chose me.
Yeah.
Nothing I ever even considered in life.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
is. Only
have-
grateful that I
Yeah.
am in this position, and I'm grateful that I got my full retirement, my disability retirement, and that I'm able to now focus on this. I don't get paid for this, just FYI. Reinventing Ourselves is a nonprofit. The Arkansas Wellness Network is an initiative of that. None of us get paid for this. There's nobody on payroll, but it is something we're doing because we are truly, truly passionate about helping others and about Arkansas to be first in something. I want us to be first instead of last. So if we could be first in wellness, that would just be a full circle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. You're very inspirational.
Aw, thank you.
This was
Thanks.
amazing.
Thank you. All right,
All
we
right.
went way past overtime.
That's
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, so that concludes our interview. But however, I want us to all give our wellness tip of the week. Well, Tanya, can you please go first?
Oh my goodness. Originally, I had one before the show. I'm going to have to start writing them down. I had one before the show. Now that I've blabbed, I forgot all about it. But I think in a health and wellness journey, I think listening to my story, I think the best advice I could give is put one foot in front of the other and just take baby steps. If you're very unhealthy in one area of your life, make some little micro changes to get to where you're healthier. Whatever area that is, whether it's relationships or eating or physical activity or your financial wellness, whatever it is, start taking the small steps. Don't try to eat the elephant all at once. And just move forward. You got this.
I think my tip would be to search for the light in the middle of the storm, right?
Ooh.
Your light in the middle of this storm was you got that unexpected phone call, right? You weren't expecting that. You were being a couch potato, And so I would say definitely look for the light in the storm, even if it's a pin light.
I love that.
That's cool. Well, will be my tip. So I guess like my tip would be work on your someday, and try to get that someday be now. Someday I'm going to go play my guitar. Hey, I want to play my guitar now. Someday I'm going to watch that movie. Let's do it. Someday I want to become a wellness teacher. Get on it, because someday is not,
Cool.
someday has to be today.
It's not guaranteed, so get on it.
Yeah. Parts of my life is my someday. This whatever I'm moving now, it's what it was a someday in the past. So someday I would be a lifestyle coach, Latanya. You've made it. Someday you will have a network, Tanya, and this is the someday. This is the someday that we're all working on.
Yes.
Absolutely,
People thought I was crazy for the
We're
last.
living the someday.
I knew
Live
what
the
I was-
someday. I love that.
I was
Let's live the
crazy.
someday. Whatever that is. You create that thing.
That's
It's
right.
a byline. Let's live our some days now. Someday, whatever.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, thanks everyone for tuning in with us this week for this week's interview. We will be back next week with another interview from another dedicated provider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
The Arkansas Wellness Network and the Wellness Connection are an initiative of Reinventing Ourselves, a 501c3 nonprofit promoting health, happiness, and hope.